Oh, okay. Nice to see you.
You too.
Geez, that's a big thing of water.
Yeah, well, I'm drinking a gallon a day.
Oh,
I've got to
true.
drink three of those.
What's a gallon?
I think it's like 3.8 or 3.9 liters, roughly.
Wow, that's a lot. Hey, you must be peeing all the time.
At first, yeah, but now it's just the normal now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's interesting to start in that way. This week I'm doing a small fast, just
Oh,
to
okay.
yeah, a
What's
couple of
the
days.
plan?
Sorry.
Oh, what's the scope of it?
Well, it's just like today is sort of an ease into it day. I'm just gonna like I've had a couple of coffees already this morning, but I'm just have probably a bit of juice and whatnot today, and maybe if I get hungry, I might have something, some fruit or something at the end of the day. But
Hmm.
the idea is that it's going for the Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, um, and oh,
Like
it's
water only?
yeah, water only, and um, so like I just want to take a better look at these sort of addictions and that, like coffee
Mhm.
and um, chewing gum. She says,
I was actually laughing at the coffee one, and then the chewing gum one as well. Yeah.
chewing gum, the tablet, social media, all of that. My wife's away for 3 days too, so I'll stick my wife in there as well,
Hmm.
and yeah, yep. So the idea as well is that I'm transitioning from this Facebook friends and family group into something else. You know,
Hmm.
uh, like maybe I'm going in towards the Instagram type of thing with a lot more short videos and whatnot,
Okay.
and stepping out of the friends and family realm.
Hmm.
I
Cool.
thought that'd be a good transition because I don't need to get anyone. I can just do this week by myself, looking at
Hmm.
the at what's coming up as I do the fast.
Yeah, yeah, that'd be interesting.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, when I stopped coffee last year sometime, I got like a body flu for a few
Really.
days. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I felt good, but then I ended up going back to coffee.
Yeah. Okay, but I mean, is it a reasonable thing for you drinking? Like Finland's got the
What do you mean?
highest per capita coffee rate in the world, pretty sure.
Oh, okay. So how many cups of coffee would you have in a day normally?
Like maybe three or four even sometimes. So
Yeah.
through the morning and then maybe one in the afternoon.
Hmm.
But when I first came here, I never drank coffee at all. I only drank tea,
Hmm.
and they slowly wore me down. Um, but yeah, definitely. Also, since quitting the smoking as well, the chewing gum has just been like off tap. It's a bit too
Hmm.
much. So
Hmm.
so let's see how it
Yeah.
goes. What about you? How's it going? What's happening?
Um, no, things are really good. Um, we have one of my mum's older brothers passed away a couple of days ago.
Okay, hold on. Your mum's old.
Um,
Okay,
and then my auntie that I've talked about before, she's not too well. But that's about it. Yeah, no,
pretty
feeling pretty
good.
good. Yeah,
Yeah. Would you attribute it to your ongoing self-inquiry work?
definitely. Yeah,
Makes a difference, hey?
it does make a difference. Yeah. I was so disconnected from my experience. And it seemed it seemed like turning towards it was going to make it real, and that scary things would happen, but the opposite is true.
Yeah.
And it still fascinates me. Still, every time it's fresh, like, oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. That's something I love about it too, is that it's not dogma and repeated. And a big thing about the business that I want to do is that a big like selling point is that you don't need knowledge. You don't need to go and do a degree, and even this like the general population, I think, could get away without going to a therapist or heavy trauma and things like that. Fine, I think knowledge is helpful. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but the knowledge part of it, the idea of like memories and like the memory of knowledge. Knowledge is memory, basically. Um,
Yeah, it can be a distraction if you
yeah,
have an idea in your head of something that you want to happen, or a direction that you want to go. It can be distracting.
yeah,
I know the times when I felt when I was facilitating others, when I would just sort of relax and get into it, it would be a good session. But if I had my notes and I was trying to remember, that's when it wouldn't be a good session.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Definitely. It's that hard point where you come up to like you're trying to learn how to do it in a way, which is strange to sort of say too, because once you're there, it's more about observation and not doing. But in some way, you're trying to learn how to do it. And once you get to that point of just like, oh, well, accepting, and then it all like carries on from that. But I think the hardest part is to sort of let that side down, that intellect and that knowledge side, and the one that thinks it knows, let that just fall away and
Yeah.
makes things open a lot more. And
Mm.
um, maybe I've got a little bit of something to look
Mm-hmm.
at. Um, it's to do with like, would you agree as well now that your ideas about things are a lot less solid in terms of your beliefs and well, did you just like swallow then?
Oh, was it really loud?
No, no, I know that swallow was like, where are we going? Um,
Oh, I'm just trying to think how to even answer you, because um, it's not so much that. Hmm,
maybe you haven't thought about it like this before, but
um, it seems like the more you do the inquiry, the more everything is up for question. And to really enjoy it, or to really, for me, I enjoy it.
yeah,
Part of it, what I enjoy, is that everything gets turned up on its head.
yeah,
And um, what are the words I'm after? Like, and the point that I get to quite often at the end of inquiry is there's nothing to be done, and there's nothing to know, and
yeah,
there's nothing that has to be fixed. It's like the opposite of accumulating knowledge.
yeah,
And I can remember being um, a bit shocked by that, or a little bit of fear, because we do cling very tightly to the rules that we've given ourselves.
yeah,
So realizing that any rule can be um, put on the same level as other ideas, like you almost can't just pick one
yeah,
after a while, because it's all open.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It could be this, it could be that. And the joy is in like looking directly in the moment to see what it is, and then watching it move from one thing into the next thing. And and if there's a suffering there, then it's like the balance comes in. Um,
Yeah, you see the limitations that it puts on you
yeah,
by selecting one
yeah,
belief or thought or
yeah. And
idea.
it doesn't stop that though. Like you can still have a belief in something, but it's just like, and that's really where I sort of started with this, in that it
Hmm.
can be held really, it's really tenuous. The grasp on it is really tenuous. It's like, it's kind of like I like to like, I mean, I said like quite a lot there. Um, I like to relate it to UFOs in that that I'd like them to be real, but and I hold the belief that they are, but it doesn't really. It's not a belief of suffering, and it's not. It
Hmm.
doesn't have any identity of who I am as a person. And even saying that, it comes up with this image of me being a bit like quacky, but then me being completely okay with that, and then that falling away as well.
Hmm.
Um, okay, so interesting. I really enjoyed hearing you like turn around and look at that and
Yeah.
explain.
And one
Yep.
other thing that in my experience has come up. So you may still have something that you think is a way you want to live. It's a value. You're going to continue having this value or whatever. But there's less identification with that value that everyone should have it,
Yeah.
because you can realize that other people are so different and are going to have different values, and there's less fear or less more okayness with the idea that because you're not holding it quite so seriously, you don't hold it quite so seriously for others.
Yeah.
Like, okay, that's what you think. Cool.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's like it's because you've seen the drives within yourself for particular things that you can sort of see it within another person as well. And even if you can't see it, you can go, hey, there's some, there's some reason I don't know that they're holding this particular belief. And and because you've investigated that within yourself, you're very more open to letting people be exactly
Mm,
how they are. And again, it's interesting because I would also add in there not just beliefs we hold tenuously, um, but also identities of people we can hold very tenuously. We don't pigeonhole people as exactly that and only that, or
mm-hmm.
exactly that and only that, because we don't see that line. That's not exactly right, but we've experienced that movement between one thing to the next thing, and we've experienced ourselves being um, on both sides of whatever the
Yeah.
equation is, and
Mm-hmm.
we've seen that neither side is, we've had the cancellation out that happens within us. And then also we
Yeah.
can just put that for other people because we can recognize that whatever they say, the opposite could equally be true. And
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think also what you were saying about seeing those drives that drive a certain behavior, and maybe that certain behavior or that the way you show up in a relationship isn't that great, or you're not that proud of it, but you can see what's going on underneath it.
yeah,
And so you're able to have a bit more grace with others as well, because they might be displaying a certain behavior that you think, oh God, I wish they wouldn't. But in your mind, you're like, underneath that could be fear, or they could have been really hurt in the past, and um, it's not quite so threatening or something.
yeah, 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 yeah. I'd agree. I agree. And it's never permanent. There's always that option because we're always coming back to the present moment of, hey, when will this change, rather than, oh, it's never going to change, or they're always
Mm-hmm.
going to be that way. And I don't think either of us are saying in this moment that we're never, or don't fall foul of this, you know, of like seeing someone and thinking that they are who they, seem to be portraying. I'm not saying that we're perfect, I guess, is in a simpler form. Um,
Yeah, gotcha.
but because we can always come back to this present moment and look with curiosity of what the experience is of being here, then we can do that for other people as well. Okay, interesting again. I mean, for me, this is like always a joy to just explore. But I wanted to have a bit of a look. I'm not exactly sure how this is going to come. Um, but I did this Trump week last week, and I noticed that okay, there was one interaction with one person sort of through Facebook, and I don't know her well. She's related to me in some regard over in America, um, and she seems like a nice person. She seems like just a nice sort of person, and she likes baking, and it's funny, but then the vehement reaction to Trump and the situation was just really sort of extreme. And and um, and so there's always something about that sort of situation where someone is so absolutely um, stuck, I would say, really stuck and suffering and not being able to recognize that they're suffering. And um, there's something about that I find interesting. Let's say I was going to say bothers me, but I find interesting. Um, and then just sort of yesterday, I had a interaction with a another relative, let's say, who also she's very like that in that she'll grab something and you know it's like a friggin' you know the the obsession and the just the drive, and she's already very driven, but the drive just kicks up into overdrive, and she's just incapable of seeing anything other than a particular perspective. And
Is this situation reminding you of your farmer neighbour, employer?
um
I mean, your view as you're looking at it, as you're looking at these ladies, is it similar to when you look at your friend?
I never thought about it in that regard. I mean, yeah, in terms of the idea of religion that he has,
Mm.
and and
And the steadfastness of his views.
well, it's interesting though because he's he's smashing himself. Life is smashing him in that in terms of Trump as well, he thought one way and now he's like going the other way, and he can't. He's finding it a bit hard to come to terms with that. Let's say um, we had a conversation the other day and we couldn't do any inquiry, but he was holding something in and he could just let it out and just boom, put it on the table. And he felt quite, quite relieved because of that. But I guess I want to specifically look at this, like even this thing from yesterday.
Mhm.
I don't want to be very specific here because I don't want to put anyone under the bus or anything. And I doubt that they'll watch this, but I
It's
don't
okay
want.
because it's about you anyway.
Yeah. I mean, it's true. It's really true, isn't it? It's really true. Um, uh, okay, so there's actually a reaction to that. There's actually a response to that in the body. Um, Yeah, I noticed as well in the end last night that there was a need to put the last word in. It came into my mind that that this something something something. This thing came to me as I was going to sleep that was like, aha, it wasn't exactly
Should have
like
said
that.
that.
Yeah. Well, I ended up like going back in and saying that. And I mean, I'm exaggerating, but there was an element of that. And I didn't realize it in the moment. I only realized it afterwards. And then I ended up just getting up and just deleting the whole post, because
Okay.
okay, that, it's the usual thing. The thing that I'm putting onto someone else is something I'm doing myself. So, so where do we start with this, Alison? What do you reckon? Um, I'm coming back to this idea of that it's about me. Um, and I can feel the need to like, whoa, give myself a bit of space. Do you know, like that's the entire reason that I'm putting the blame onto her. Um, I'm saying that she she can't sort of see anything outside of this belief.
So if that's the observation, if you're observing that she can't see anything outside of this belief, what's your judgment on that?
Yep, yep, that's perfect. What am I saying? It's not so cut and dry. It's kind of like a narrative. So it's like she doesn't understand, and she's obsessed, and she's hypocritical. Um, so it's coming up into my mind like the question of what's the worst I can say about her in this moment. And it's some form of like ignorance or okay, it's coming up as a threat actually. And I did see that actually last night as well when I was going to sleep. I was just like watching the image and it came up as a memory and a threat. Um, so yeah, okay, okay. So I'm just like watching this threat happen in my mind. I'm feeling what's happening in the body. It's coming across kind of this area. Okay, and then it falls into the other side, like if I was responding and retorting and what I would say. So maybe there's a little bit of repression there too. Um, mm, yeah, okay. So the fear or the threat that I feel is stopping a little bit the expression that's on this side because
Mm-hmm.
there's some sort of obvious things in the things that she's saying that aren't reasonable. Do you know? They aren't like, and she's the type to like try and gather as much information so that she can, use it in that kind of way. It's interesting to say it like that. Mm. Oh no, jump in here. Okay. Jump in.
Oh, I'm just sort of
A little
wondering,
bit
like, so if you,
naked,
if
feeling a
you
bit.
can feel you can feel the part of you that's wanting to protect you from this threat. Can you stay with that enough to get under to what it's protecting, like
Yeah,
either in
yeah.
the body or the idea?
Mm. Okay, so it comes up, I'm wrong. It comes up with the image of being attacked.
I got the
And
same belief when I was sort of doing it with you. I went
yeah,
straight to that as well. Yeah, I'm wrong.
uh, okay, so I'm wrong. Um, all right, so it's kind of like closed off a little bit. I got this feeling of her still sort of attacking outside of me, but it's closed off a little bit in terms of um, what's the feeling of being wrong in this moment. Oh, that's connected to the idea of being attacked. Um, like it's connected to the idea of not being able to defend myself,
Okay.
which is interesting. Like if I'm wrong, then I'm going to be defeated or die or something like that. And I see that in my mind. I see like me just crouching in and more and more and more and more and being like more wrong or the wrongest, so to speak. And like disappearing. I guess that's the end
Hmm.
of it. The thought of being attacked to death or okay, and then it goes the other way a little bit too. So it comes in with this, oh, I could be wrong and just, be like normal, um, like, holding my space and whatever. But then I grow to be very tall and I'm looking down at her and I'm like, I'm wrong and just stamping her out of existence. It's just not so nice. But
So, what is it that makes this I'm wrong true? Because, coming from her, it's just an opinion in the current political climate. But for you, why is it have to be defended?
yeah, yeah, I got what you're saying. Um,
Because it's not coming from her.
yeah, it's like she's pointing it out to me, and as you are in this moment. Um, okay, so what's happening is I'm looking at these different sort of situations of being wrong, and that okay, that it's really just about being wrong. That it doesn't matter what it is I'm wrong about, but there's a sense of that being the problem. Um, and yeah, I mean, I can't fully rationalize anything at the moment. All I can say is that being wrong feels this way, and that seems to be the problem, that it's feeling this particular way. And so when I come
Mm-hmm.
into the feeling of it in the chest, um, it's interesting. I've not seen it like this before. I've not seen this type of body image before, but it feels like an opening up, like a bread basket, with the rolling back of the top, except
Mm-hmm.
it's like an oven door opening up. Um, and then I see this kind of flames underneath it. And that's the experience of being wrong in this moment. Mm. Okay, and so it's taking, I mean, like, again, feel free to jump in here. I'm happy to hear what's happening for you. Um, I guess just the last bit, it changed the sort of perspective of it changed a little bit, where the person was actually outside of me and attacking this part within me, like belittling and mm, I've got this door open, and then there's this kind of symbol of this sensation inside of me, and the person's like looking in the door and belittling that part of me. Um, and okay, it's interesting. I notice it an escape here of trying to find some reason for this happening. What about you, mate?
So for me, I've sort of followed along to the point of what being wrong feels like, and what comes up for me was shame, embarrassment, shame, humiliation type feelings.
Mm.
Um, and then it went into the role of being a child, regardless of age, and very much the idea of being wrong is linked to punishment.
Yeah,
So the word that came out is actually I have to be wrong. I have to be wrong because I'm the child, and if I push this any further, then I'm going to get punished for being cheeky or rude or whatever. So it's kind of watching this fine line of how much can I express because I have to be wrong because I'm the child, I'm the lesser one in this where it's kind of going, and then what came after that, which is sort of where I was sitting when I started talking, is this huge sense of loss because I feel like there's no room in the relationship for being right or wrong in a connected way. Being right means no connection, and yeah, this huge like sense of loss of if I want to be right, then I have to lose connection. I have to be viewed as bad and mouthy, or talking back, or something like that. And it's very much in the chest and also a little bit in the belly, like being punched in the belly kind of thing. Like I have to choose between my ideas and staying connected.
yeah.
There's a little bit of anger in there with that sense of loss. Yeah, I'm just going to stay with the feeling.
Yeah, the thought that was coming into my mind was is well, I mean, you sort of opened up the gates for me with that sharing. Um, it seemed that it was so close that I couldn't see the shame. I couldn't see the repercussions. And and so there was a little bit of separation between the sensation and me. Um, and then the moment that you said it about shame, the repercussions, the humiliation, it's almost like I could see the interaction that was happening outside. And it's, it was just obvious that, oh, yeah, okay, there's a sense of shame there. And then you talked about the child, and it came in. Ah, yes, of course. The being told you're wrong, and then the immediate reaction to that as a child in crying and going to like someone and holding them as a child, and then being a bit embarrassed about crying. That sort of situation where everyone's sitting around and the kid is crying, and and they look at you in that, like the sort of embarrassment or wanting to hide it in some way, how we're
Mm-hmm.
taught to sort of be without emotions. And okay, interesting. And then this image comes back in of me getting really, really big and it's this play of a child, and now I'm an adult, um, and this person is outside of me speaking into the child still, and it just makes a lot more sense now. Um, yeah, and as you were talking about sort of this idea of needing to be wrong so that you can stay connected. Um, when I come back to the situation with this person, I have maybe the same sort of feeling in that I don't need to push anything, but mm, I don't know. That's sort of where it's going for me. That kind of I'm looking at that sense of repression of not speaking, and yeah, it might come in as a child being seen as cheeky and um, like smart alecky or whatever, and then the response of the adults to that. It's not. It's their response is childish as well. Um, and I can see how that plays into this sort of situation as well in some regards. And I like to think that the reason I wouldn't react is because of um, I get like this idea that I don't need to react, that I don't need to respond. And but I don't think it's fully true. I can see that underneath that there's still this, it was what came out last night at the end, needing that last word. There's still an element of um, the childishness coming in, and actually that brought in that situation and that sequence of the child going, well, you guys, it's like with the parents saying, don't, drink all the milk, and the parents don't drink the milk, and the kids like, hey, you guys don't fucking drink the milk, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, so I can just sit there, mate.
Yeah. So I was sort of sitting with the emotions of feeling, I have to be wrong to be good, or, to keep the connection. And I stayed with that, and it kind of just turned into love because that's what it was, even though it was coming out like that.
Mm,
And then where we're sort of moved towards now is just pondering the idea of equality, whether it be parent child or whatever. Um, which brings me to look at how I am as a parent, and I can see that I have said, you know what, sometimes, kiddo, it's just because I said so. that expectation that you get to have the last say just because you're the adult. I do that too sometimes, especially when I just can't be bothered explaining something. And so entertaining this idea of equality has fear with it. I can feel fear because um, I'm assuming that I would feel hurt. And so the fears of not wanting to feel hurt.
what can you go a bit further with that? I don't.
Oh, actually, in my mind that time I was imagining talking to this woman who I have no idea what she looks like, but I have an image of her, and imagining being in that kind of conversation and being open to the idea of no one is higher or lower. And yet in the belly, I can feel this sense of fear because I would have to brace myself because even if my mind was like open, I know my body would contract if I was to receive a conversation like that.
I need to ask again though.
Mm.
I'm
Mm-hmm.
fully, are you saying that like it would hurt to have an equal conversation with this person? Or are you saying that
um, I'm saying that even if in my mind I was approaching it, that it was
yeah,
going to be an equal conversation,
yeah.
that my body would still react.
So what's the current conversation that was happening?
I'm just imagining a very strong opinion coming out at me with no room for other viewpoints, and like just kind of like letting that wash over. Yeah, there is the body still reacts. It's yeah, like a freezing, like a surprise. I feel surprised and yeah, and I feel small. So that's the quality gone already. I can feel that I want to be small. It feels like an unknown, like it's an unknown of how to stand in your own experience whilst receiving a conversation, a very strong opinion. What I'm noticing is the feeling inside of the urge to control,
Mhm. Okay, is
wanting to.
that yeah, after you.
Sorry, what were you going to ask?
Um, no, I think you're about to just say it. So
Yeah, like control the words that they're saying, control their tone, control the impact of their words on the relationship. Yeah, like wanting to control or modulate their um, expression so that I feel better.
yeah, yeah,
So the idea that they have every right to be exactly as they are. Yeah, that goes into the throat for me.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because I won't know what to say.
And then I've got to deal with the feeling of situation.
And risk the relationship. Yeah, so I can notice that my response is then to be very careful, very premeditated. And again, that's to try and not feel out of control or to not feel
Yeah,
challenged,
it's
or
coming for me.
even,
Do you?
yeah, go.
I was just going to say it's coming for me in the other way, in that instead of that measuredness, I let the words come out, and they're a form of control too. That that the whole thing is about quashing their feeling, so that I don't have to feel a response to it. And as you were talking, I was looking at this. Um, I guess I was looking at the feeling that they were coming from, um, like the feeling of fear that they were having in the that was driving their story in the first place. I mean, there's other things that are involved. There's definitely a sense of identity and righteousness and da 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 da. But the main thing that's driving is the sense of fear. So I was trying to connect into that. Mm. Yeah, and all of that just drops me down again into that sort of on a heightened level of awareness of that fear that was here at the start when I was looking at them and I felt them as a threat and I was having this sense of fear and a little disconnection from it. And so all of this is just taking me into that feeling a lot more. Mm. Yeah. Yeah. And then it just becomes clear that, oh, that what I'm trying to do to them is what I'm trying to do to myself, which is just get away from this. And there's just one more piece that sort of fell into place too, in that um, that there is a truth to what they're saying, that I am wrong in some regards. Um, like the story could be made on the other side, but the thing is the story isn't being made on the other side. Or if I'm making the story about the other side, it's as a controlling mechanism or manipulation mechanism, rather than just hearing and listening to what it is they're saying. and and that it will still like end up in the same place that I'm trying to get to, but I'm trying to sort of subvert it by I don't know, by not accepting it as a reality in this moment, which is interesting because that's kind of what they want. Mm. Jump in here, mate. I'm happy to hear what's going on for you.
Yeah, I was sitting with the idea of, I have to try and control a situation that's starting to feel like it's getting a bit of out of control. And so why? Why do I have to do that? And part of that is to not feel certain things, but the core fear is I have to protect the relationship,
Mm.
because if I don't modulate this, whatever's happening in that moment, then what came up for me is I'll be forgotten. I'll be nothing. Like, I won't exist outside of um, a surface level, peaceful, safe connection. Sort of wanting the one-sidedness, wanting only one side of a person, not wanting the whole person because it feels nicer.
Mm.
Yeah, and the thought of letting go of wanting to control, scary in the belly. But there's a movement towards it. It feels good, like it feels um, mm, feels like something worth working towards.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can also see that by doing that with the unconscious desire to protect the relationship, actually would have the opposite effect because nobody wants to feel controlled. So you may push them away with the control rather than more than actually protecting the relationship with the control.
Mhm.
Yeah. I'm just sort of reflecting back now if you want to
Yeah,
go.
yeah, me too, me too. I'm thinking that that part of me thinks that it's better just to like there's something behind just being able to let someone go in that regard, cut the not the relationship off, but cut the point of contention. In this case, it was a post, and the post itself was like from her particular point of view, she was seeing it as evidence and you know upholding the things that she's been going through. And from my point of view, it didn't. And quite often I'll just disengage from that. So there's a little sense of arrogance there too that that I'm bigger than this, that I can just let that go. It doesn't mean as much to me. And it's true at times as well. It's true. Um, but I think to think that way all the time, like
Mm-hmm.
not be aware of what's actually going on in those moments
Yeah.
is a form of an escape and manipulation and repression of myself and
Mm-hmm.
fear of losing that sort of relationship and it's also like a an invalidation of the idea of change, of the possibility of change, of the possibility of her being able to see things in a different way and and see herself in a different way and then see the world in a different way. And I think it's hard because it doesn't. Mm, it's interesting. Just thinking with with integrity, it's hard to have integrity in this regard because it's not a fixed integrity. It's not a, you can have integrity relative to values. You can always do the same thing as best as you can. I don't actually think it's I think it's very, very hard. I, I think there's always a situation that can come up and go against values and you don't sort of have a choice. But but the underlying drive that's here, it seems a bit challenging to have integrity from the awareness side of things. Um,
Do you
uh,
mean do you mean by not upsetting anyone? So if you were had integrity, you wouldn't upset anyone. Is that what you mean?
well, I just mean like having a fixed point of view, like having a fixed point of view. I guess I'm saying that it's hard to not slip back into ego and separation
Hmm.
at times. And it's not really a doing that can fix it, it's not something that can be fixed in a normal sort of way. And it always has to be just coming back or a recognition of suffering. And
Mm.
I mean, I'm just seeing myself in the other in a way as well. So I don't think that this sort of thing is actually fully unraveled within me. So maybe it
Hmm.
will come this week, this fasting.
Hmm.
I'm not sure. What about you? Any end comments, feelings?
yeah, it's been interesting to see um, the tendencies that I have in those situations, which happen for a lot as in life. Seeing that it's an area I need to work on. Um, but I feel like I just sort of feel like, oh, I don't know how to describe this, but more when I was in the space of the parent-child relationship, and I don't know, it's just it feels like this okayness with this side of life because um, wanting to be in relationship and wanting to be loved and feel loved doesn't feel like a bad thing, and so sort of seeing how it plays out. I don't know. I feel like a bit of a gentleness around it, and also around the person who's showing a behaviour that triggers that up inside. Um, yeah, I don't
Hmm.
know. My words aren't doing very well this evening.
Oh, no, I don't think, I think actually you're very succinct at the end, and it made me, you know, see that, oh, maybe I'm being a bit down on myself in this particular instance, and that it might not be necessary to be that way. And I appreciate your kindness towards yourself. It reminds me that, you know, to be kind to myself in this moment. So I'm appreciative of that. Hey, I think I'm just gonna end the stream.